my brother all broke
Yeah.
down, new knees. And
That's
Yeah.
hey,
It'll all be finished when this youngest one starts getting ready to move out to college or something. There's always projects.
really,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
it's not like you can take a break.
Yeah. That works out pretty good.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's one chore and then you do
Ask for some help.
Oh, well, eat lunch. It's 4 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah. You can hit that anytime. That is Warren County engineer for MoDOT, Jeff. Yes. It'll be on our minutes, but I cannot remember. He's going to give us an update.
Yeah, I know. One of those.
What's his last name?
Oh.
He's been on baby leave. Yeah.
I know he has.
Okay, can
You
we
need to swing that a little harder.
a little harder?
Come on, Bill.
Can we come
There
to
you
order, please? Wow, what a crowd for a transportation meeting. Thank you all for coming. First of all, this is the Washington Area Transportation Committee. It is Monday, February 24th, 2025. And Gina, can we have a roll call, please?
Craig Miller, Ed Fisher, Jordan Delaveras.
Here.
Ray Frankenberg.
Here.
Bob Ingeman. Bill Stratman.
Here.
Mayor Hagedorn. Here. Joe Holtmeyer.
Here.
Sandy Lucy.
Here.
Albie Eckelkamp. Tim Brinker. Mike Coulter. Jeff Niemeyer. Charles Tankovic. Aaron Lamb.
Here. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, thank you all for coming. Did you put your $1,000 in the bag for us for transportation use? No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, approval of the minutes for the previous meeting, January 27th. Anybody have a chance to review them? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So move.
I have a motion to approve it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. They're approved. Item is Amtrak. Got anybody?
Bill, did you want to mention our presentation
Oh,
that
yes.
we're going to have later?
We're gonna have to try to make this a little shorter than normal. We've got a presentation, on the sales tax for the transportation sales tax.
I promise you it'll talk about everything you talk about in the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So we're gonna not speed through it and not cover something, but we need to, get to it, otherwise we'll be here for half a day. Amtrak, is no one here? Missouri River Bridge, flood mitigation. There you go. Hi, Charles.
Morning. Not much of an update with that project. They took about a month off just from all the grants being on hold and everything, and they were kind of waiting on whether the funding was going to come back. They were approved for this project for the funding, so they resumed the study and everything and analyzing stuff. So we'll have more of an update next month. They'll probably push the timeline a month, so a little further into the spring, probably May, June. Kind of.
Just keep pushing on that.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's one that can get just lay in the weeds and nobody.
Yeah, we keep having monthly meetings with them to make sure we're getting updates and progressing, so
Good. Thank you.
keep it going. Yep.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Highway 47 Corridor Committee. You guys met?
Yes, so this month, we had a CAG meeting, our Community Advisory Group, and so I thank everybody that was in attendance in this room and everything. So from that, of course, now our team is working on some different alternatives and everything, and so the second CAG, Community Advisory Group meeting, will be this spring, and so that we'll take those alternatives and kind of workshop through those and everything. And from that second CAG meeting, we'll go into a third CAG meeting. And then from that third CAG meeting, we'll go into a public meeting.
Okay. Yeah, it was well represented at the meeting at East Central. I thought that was a very good
Yes.
meeting, round table, whatever. lots to discuss, lots of input, I think, and really handed off a lot of information
Yes.
to you guys, to MoDOT, to further investigate different locations and whatever, and needs and whatever. So it seems like this is gonna happen, folks, this 47 thing. I mean, we had a committee, this committee, Decentral, was a kickoff of, it's gonna happen. We're gonna see it happen. So,
Was that the first CAG meeting that you had at East Central?
Yes, that was the first.
Okay. Can the public attend? I've had a few people
Oh, yeah.
ask me
Oh, yeah.
if I knew anything about them. I thought, well, this morning's a good morning to find out.
So, of course, being a state agency and everything, our meetings are essentially open. The thing about the CAG meeting is that with it, we are trying to invite those that are representatives of the community and everything. And so specifically with 47, it is a very large corridor and lots of representation. So the more people that we do have in it, I feel like that kind of muddies the water some. So that's why we are trying to kind of select, of course, from Washington, Union, St. Clair, just all up and down the corridor as well, different kind of business owners, Oates, of course, as you travel in the bus system, just different people that we're really trying to know that really utilize it and might have different kind of uses than just regular everyday travel. But of course, those community members that do represent those groups, we do want to make sure that, you know, they're representing those groups. So the biggest thing about it is that we're looking for that participation too. So of course, those people within those communities that represent those groups that are going to participate, going to talk and speak up, so we do get that information from those representatives. So it is open, but the more people we essentially have there, maybe the less that we get of people kind of trying to speak over each other or something like that. So we're kind of looking for more of that representation.
Is it okay for people to listen, or is there going to be like a minutes or some way the public can sort of see it moving along?
That's where the public meeting is going to come. So it's not like we're essentially trying to hide anything. We're trying to refine everything through this study and this process, and that's where we are going to get the public input and everything through that public meeting.
Okay, so my answer to the people that are asking me is no, you really aren't going to find out anything about it, and no, we don't know who's on the committee, but we'll know in this fall when the public meeting occurs.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah,
I just wanted to make sure, because they're not going to enjoy hearing that. No, we don't want you to know what's going on until we get past 3 meetings with your representatives, who we can't tell you who they are yet.
Sure, and that's something that, you know, the people that are represented there, that if they want to speak up, or if they want to ask, you know, their community members and everything, hey, are you being their representative? I mean, of course, within Washington, the mayor, city administrator, and engineer, and then of course Mr. Stropman here are all part of the community advisory group.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now we
Yeah,
know.
we're represented. I mean, we're definitely represented over
Yes.
there, you know.
Yeah, and I thought the discussion was very good. I mean, with MoDOT, it was it's a beginning. Lots of different. Everybody has a different twist to their needs and entrances, and so it's going to be interesting how you refine all this down to what the public's going to really
Yes.
accept.
Jordan, what was the total amount that was invited? I mean, we had a good turnout at that first meeting. Do you know what that total was?
Yeah, there were quite a few people that were invited, but of course we're kind of in that 6th season right now too. There were quite a few people that weren't able to make it due to sickness, but I believe it's around at least 30 members. So we were kind of expecting around between 40 to 50 people to show, and we did have a good turnout, even though of course that people were kind of sick here and there. So, of course, great representation all the way through private businesses, community leaders, and then as well emergency services. You know, that they're represented just as well, and so it was a great turnout of different representation. So if anybody is curious, they're more than welcome to, of course, contact us, and we'd be happy to talk to them through the process too. We are doing other stakeholder interviews as well with those that might not be quite invited to the CAG, but we're getting their input as well, just kind of what's going on. So. If anybody is interested, even if they don't have time or necessarily don't get the invitation to come, we're more than happy to talk to them and tell them what's going on.
Yeah, I think the emergency services people, the BUSC people, the highway department, all were there and gave great input of backups and secondary lanes, or where people are, stacking up and at different times and whatever. So, and I know you guys took it all down.
Yes.
And are now gonna refine it. That's what I've said. That was a great meeting. A lot of information was passed on to MoDOT. And, it'll be interesting to see now how it's refined down. So the next meeting will be important because
Yes.
well, all of them are gonna be important, so. But this was a well-done meeting. I was happy with it, so. All right, next item, Franklin County Transportation Committee.
Nothing new to report.
Okay. Yeah, you were there. Any,
I wasn't.
did I miss anything about, on that 47 meeting?
Well attended and, very good questions and responses and, collation of all of the, opinions of everyone group.
Yeah, Jim, I thought it was a
There
great.
were more than 30 people there.
I did
Yes.
too.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There were probably 50 to 60.
Yeah, there was probably a larger turnout than we thought, but those who were invited, we did have some kind of name tags sitting out, but we were able to utilize those, flip them around, and write some other names in. We even had a couple of high schoolers attend as well. So,
That's right. All right, anything else on that item 47? Hearing none, the MoDOT grants, 50/50 grants.
We have our Highway 100 turn lane project going into the Oldenburg Industrial Park out there between Boss Brink and Highway KK. Lamke has a contract for that. They have the notice to proceed starting today, but obviously with the snow and the winter weather, timelines have been pushed a little bit. So still working on getting an updated schedule on when they'll get going and how that'll progress.
When's that gonna be completed? When do you think?
They got 3 months, so March, April, sometime in May.
Yeah, good. And that's gonna widen 2 entrances, or how's that gonna?
Yeah,
work?
right there at the industrial park, there'll be a left turn lane in, also a decel and acceleration lane, right turn lane into the new park there. So between kind of where Voss Brink, you'll have a taper, and then you'll taper back as you head towards KK. So
Good. There's gonna be a lot of traffic going through there.
yeah, it'll help, give them a spot to turn off and allow traffic to continue through.
Very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions about that intersection? Hearing none, move on. Warren County. Jeff. There you go. He's a new father, I understand, huh?
Yeah, no, I've been off for about 6 weeks on parental leave with the birth of my third son, so it's been a while since I've seen y'all, but,
Gotcha, Jeff.
look like you guys had a good holiday, and everybody's back here, so. Really the main thing we got going on in, Warren County is I-70 is getting ready to gear up. I did have a meeting with, the team there, which is Emery Sapp and Clarkson. Basically, Emery Sapp will be doing all the work in St. Charles County, and Clarkson will be doing all the work in Warren County. So they're kind of dividing and conquering with that. But with that, we are looking to have the groundbreaking ceremony March 20th. It'll be at the old way station there on the eastbound side, where we kind of had the last ribbon cutting when the funds and all that. I still don't have a time yet, but I do know that date's there, so at least if you're planning on going there, I'm sure we'll be sending out invitations to a lot of people. So we just haven't quite nailed down the governor's schedule yet. So he kind of sets the time and all that. So we're working on that. But with that, Emery Sapp is planning on starting on I-64 first, mainly because we got all the right-of-way there. It's all set up to add the third lane there to the middle. They plan to start at Route K and work their way back towards the I-64, I-61, I-70 interchange there. So their goal for the first year is to get from Route K to about Lake of St. Louis there area, that interchange. So that'll be quite a bit of work for them to do. And then on the other side in Warren County, Clarkson's planning on kind of hitting what I'm calling, they call it the rural sections, but I mean, I-70 gets a lot of traffic everywhere. So, but it'll be kind of from the east side of 47 interchange there to Wright City, basically about Strax Church area, kind of staying out of those truck rest stops there. So they'll be working eastbound this first year, widening kind of to the middle and then to the outside. So that'll be kind of the first work you'll see kind of in the Warren County, and then they're going to jump up and go to the other side from Wright City to Forestell and do the same thing. The first thing you'll kind of see them doing is milling to the middle, taking out the rumbles there and beefing up that inside shoulder so we can kind of push traffic kind of to the middle, and then we'll widen on the outside. If you guys were not at the public meetings that they held there, they have a lot of great drawings kind of showing the phases, but that'll mainly be the first year. There are a lot of phases, and this is a multi-year project, so you know, I don't want to get down too much into the weeds on some of that stuff coming further down the road, but for the first year, that's kind of what they're looking on doing. At the same time, they'll probably be working on several of those bridges that they can build off a line, like the Forestell one, and probably the railroad bridge if we can get the railroad's approval, you know, because we kind of got pre-approval and now we got to get final approval. We got our contractor and that sort of thing. So definitely going to be moving a lot of dirt out there, you know, building a lot of stuff. So just kind of what you would see if you're traveling eastbound to westbound on I-70, you would see, you know, a work zone there in Warrenton, and then you get kind of a 3-mile break, and then you'll get another 3-mile work zone coming in, then you get a little bit of a break, so then you go to 64, then you hit another work zone, so it's going to be very busy, and we've been out meeting with a lot of your first responders, that sort of thing, talking about how you're going to have access for tow and all that sort of thing, so I think I got 4 or 5 meetings every week now and for a while, so I got a feeling this is going to be a good topic to keep on our agenda for a couple of years here. It's going to be pretty much a lot of what I'll be talking about, because that's a lot of what we're doing. Other things going on, we did just go out to bid for the AB I-70 interchange there, and apparent low bid is Emery Sap, so like I said, that'll get awarded at the commission meeting, but it seemed to be a good bid and whatnot, and that's coupled with the Jonesburg overpass, just kind of getting ready for that next stretch of I-70, getting a wider bridge in there for the 3 lanes. Both of those bridges were in poor condition, so it's good to kind of get them out of service, and they are planning to do the AB one first, so I expect that one to happen this summer because it was in worse condition, so we're going to do that one first. And then we kind of needed to do the Jonesburg one as the detour for that. So we can't do them both at the same time. We're going to do one and then do the other. So that's kind of what I got going on. You guys got any other questions while I'm here?
I attended that meeting and I was blown away by what's going to happen up there in northern Warren County. I mean, $700 million or $600 million. And I mean, if you want to see what a clover leaf or a roundabout looks like, and double roundabouts. I mean, this is amazing what's going to happen up there on I-70, and my interest in it is that it begins or ends, however you want to look at it, at Highway 47. It kind of
it actually goes to Route M, the next interchange.
But yeah, but basically that's our interest.
We'll 3-lane it all the way through there to kind of get past Warrenton, so then we'll pick up on that west side. That way we only impact the town once. You know, when I met with Warrenton, they were very clear. It's like, hey, if you split this thing at 47, then you're impacting us with 2 different jobs, 2 different contractors. So we really kind of wanted to make sure we got to that kind of far into town there. That way we only impact them once. And that interchange, talking with Clarkson, that would be doing that work. They don't have any plans to do anything this year. It'll probably be, right now, it's tentatively in the schedule for fall of 26 to replace that interchange there, because they do have to replace that bridge to get an additional lane, because we're going to do, like you said, kind of a loop ramp there by the Walmart into a roundabout. Mainly because we have such an issue on that north side with those 2 lights about 100 feet apart. It fails almost every peak hour. So I will be happy to get that down to a lot more simple 1 light intersection.
So the industries that are already attracted because of this what's happening? Are the industry attracted because of the improvements that are gonna happen? Or are you putting on these improvements to take care of the industries? It's probably both. The new industry, the meat packer, is that?
Oh, yeah, that AFG plan.
AFG?
Which, you know what that's 50? Okay. So like I said, we're not gonna quite meet their deadline. They were a little quicker, but, you know, we definitely are seeing improvements at Forestell there with the divergent diamond roundabouts. So, and from the modeling, I was a little skeptical on, you know, that design. We do have one down in Springfield, and I've heard it works great. But after seeing the modeling, I feel a lot better about it, of how all that traffic's going to work, especially with those big trucks. You know, navigating roundabouts. I know a lot of them don't like it, but if you make them big enough, we have seen it for our New Florence. There, we just put 2 double roundabouts at that one, and I think, you know, with the not Flying J, what is that? The Loves there. They were very skeptical, but you know, now that they've got it going, they really like it because it doesn't back up like the lights used to.
Well, there's a lot going on in northern Warren County. You know, are the people gonna live south? Or the traffic is gonna be increased on our area of 47, of course, with our new bridge. It'll be interesting, I will tell you.
Yeah, and then the other thing I got, right now we are tentatively looking on 4761, the one we're doing there in Troy. We pretty much have finished the north side of that bridge, so we're getting ready to demo the south, switch traffic over, and build the other half of the bridge. We are looking at the weekend of March 7th through the 9th. Hopefully weather stays good. It's looking good at the 10-day forecast, so we have sent out press releases for that thing. So, you know, with that, they'll go up and over the ramps during the demo. So, you know, that weekend you might want to kind of stay out of the area of Troy. So, if you're planning on heading that way, just kind of heads up.
Very good.
I got a question. This is going on all the way west toward Kansas City right now, right? In all the different counties, work's all starting up. And then what's the projected or guessed at completion time of the whole thing? Like 28, 29, or?
So 30, the end of
30?
30 is the deadline. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. And like right now, we're looking to hit that. You know, we are really challenging our contractors to get the work done for sure. But like I said, the Kansas City portion, they're already starting their first job. They're looking to go out for bid on that, I believe, in July. So, you know, pretty soon, by the end of this year, we'll have 3 sections of I-70, one in Kansas City, one in Central District, Columbia area, and then, you know, we already got the one here from Warrenton to Wentzville that I always kind of give you the update that I know the most about. So,
Very good.
you know, so we got a lot of work going on for sure.
Well, keep us informed.
Like I said, that in Warren County, it's mainly eastbound there. For westbound, this year, you're probably not gonna see too much westbound, so, you know, just kinda, and, you know, both lanes will be open during daytime hours, only nightly lane closures, you know, down to 1 lane at night type deal, so that was one of the commitments the contractor made. So, you know, for most of you, you know, you probably won't see too much impacts during the daytime unless there's an accident or something like that, which is kind of normal now. So.
Okay, we're gonna have to speed this up. You could talk all day, so.
Oh, I could.
I know, great information. Keep it coming. Thank you very much, Jeff. Next item on the agenda, where are we here? Special Road District, and Wendell, Echo Camp is gonna be taken over for Ed Fisher. So Wendell, welcome, and basically anything that's, come on up, if you want to say something, go ahead, yeah, please.
The only project we have going now is we're trying to finish Pottery Road, widening the rest of it.
Yeah.
It's being a little difficult.
Yeah.
But, because we want to get it done right away, get the bids out to get it done this summer yet, but we're working on it, so.
Well, that's all, we just needed, we try to keep an update as what's going on in that area.
Well,
and,
yeah, we're having trouble
we're gonna
now,
be the voice of it.
because it's busy. On the south side, we had a little deal that somebody dropped off of it the other day, because now it's a lip there now. We don't want to spend much money there if they're going to rip it all back out, you know. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll have it
Good,
done,
good.
bids out. And go.
And the information that you bring to this, many times it's reported in the newspaper, so if you want information to be passed on, this is a good place to.
Okay.
To do it. So, anyway, thank you, welcome
Thanks.
aboard, and your place will be right up there in the corner, and you will have a name tag next time around. Thanks, Wendell.
Hey, Bill, could you move closer to the mic and
Oh,
talk in the
sorry.
mic? Thank you.
Which one do I talk? This one?
I think it's the one, I think it's supposed to be the one right there. There you go.
Got me between two mics here. All right, Old Highway 100 Bridge. Anything new?
Nothing new to report.
Airport?
The only thing, the committee will be meeting this week. We sent out invites for the committee, I think this Thursday at 3:30, be the first meeting of the year. We'll be discussing stuff like the runway extension, issues that we've had with the roof over there, a couple of, we'll see, get an update hopefully on that. That's about it.
All right. Any questions, comments about the airport? Hearing none, Team Track?
Nothing new.
East-West Parkway? It's happening, isn't it? It's happening.
It's happening.
There's a sign out there that says.
It's always
East-West-
happening.
East-West Parkway. I saw the sign. Public transportation. Teresa, anything? From your end of it? Anybody? Public transportation? Oh, I'm sorry. Michael Burbank is gonna be giving us this. You've got it? All right.
Can I hand a few things out to you real quick?
Absolutely.
I always like maps because they help me understand things so much better.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting us be here. The main reason is so that we can help get the word out. Otis Transit, I know a lot of you probably are familiar, a lot of you see our buses.
He already got his thing.
Yeah.
You see our buses driving around all day. And I don't know if all of you know exactly what we do. We're a not-for-profit 501c3 rural transportation provider in the state of Missouri. We operate in 87 counties. Across the state, we have about 500, 550 buses right now. Probably about the same number of drivers on any given day. And I am Michael Burbank. Just want to didn't even say who I was first. I'm Michael Burbank, and this is Megan Amber. We oversee operations in Franklin and Jefferson both. And I think both of you, all of you probably know that they're different animals. Franklin is not the same as Jefferson at all. Once you cross that county line, things operate differently. We operate completely different services in Jefferson County than we do Franklin. But the reason that we're here today is to try and highlight a new route that we're starting March 18th. This is really the first type of route, and it's federally funded, which is a wonderful thing, but it means that it comes with a lot of restrictions also. The funds aren't just simply do what you want. There are a lot of rules that we have to follow on this, but it's general public transportation that we're going to try and provide in Franklin County. You can see a little map that we put on the front page. The intent of this is to connect riders in Franklin County with intermodal connections, other roadway, transit, rail connections in St. Louis in an urbanized setting. This funding is not supposed to be used for just moving people in and around Franklin County. It's to get people into an urbanized environment like St. Louis where they can access other modes of transportation. Does that sort of make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay, and the most sense to us, of course, the airport, without a doubt. We get calls all the time about people wanting access or transportation to the airport. The hospital district is a big one for us. A lot of people really need access there. And thirdly, the third major stop in St. Louis is at the Intermodal Connection Center, where you could then get on any of the metro bus systems, any of the bi-state rail systems. You can get on other modes of transportation, whether it be the Amtrak. So if we can get people from Franklin County into St. Louis to these connections to make other connecting stops, you can theoretically get anywhere around St. Louis that Metro provides. Is it the easiest thing in the world to do? No. You'd have to ride on an Oates bus to get there, then you'd have to deal with Metro and the timing for all that, but it's possible where it's not today. We've been wanting to do this for quite a while, mainly because we've had the federal dollars. We have about 1.6 million. It's enough for us to do pilot studies, get things going. It may only last a year, year and a half. So a year from now, we'll be looking at the decisions. This is something we want to continue. So I want to make sure that we get the word out so that everyone knows what we're wanting to do and that this can be a successful service. Because first and foremost, we don't want to be doing this, putting money into something that people don't need, don't want, or it's not going to help the community. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we're serving you, that we're here for the community, and you are receptors to that just as well as we are. So please let us know if there's something that we're missing or something we should be doing in addition to what we are. But I think this was kind of exciting, that this is a new route that we're starting, something we haven't done before. We have done it in other parts of the state, but not here. We initially looked at Jefferson County, but it's very difficult to pull something off over there. It's very urbanized, and these dollars that we use don't like to be used in urbanized areas. They really are intended for rural areas. So it's really ideal for Franklin County to a certain extent. And this is something I'd like to come back and bring back to this committee over time so you see the numbers, you see the ridership, you see how it's working, and maybe together we can look when we need to make decisions on do we need to modify something, tweak something, change it ever so slightly. So I would love your input on this moving forward so that we could do this in a partnership, hopefully. This is general public transportation. Anybody can ride, anybody.
So will you have general spots where people can congregate and come to for pickups
Yeah.
regularly, or
Backside.
how does that work?
Pickups right now, they're identified on the second page really.
Oh, I didn't see
There are
it. Oh,
spots that we're picking up.
sorry, I should turn
So the
page.
hope is that, starting out, we were thinking a Tuesday and Thursday, 2 days a week. It could be modified to more than that. But until it proves itself, I'm not sure
Sure.
we're doing it 5 days a week yet.
Sure.
But 2 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, start in the morning, taking people into the city, in the afternoon, bring them back. And I would love it if we could get enough so that we need 2, 3, 4 buses to pull this off. That would be a wonderful testament. But, and the rates that we would like to charge are $10 because that's what we do everywhere else. Does $10 seem reasonable to you for someone to pick you up, take you into St. Louis?
Yeah, it's,
Hopefully to get to the connections that you need or get you somewhere so you can get to those connections, at least. We like to charge a fare just so everyone has skin in the game. We found that in the past when we don't, people schedule, they say they'll be there, they never ever show up. But when people are physically paying, whether it's $1, there's a higher degree that they are going to be there. In Kansas City, the KCATA actually experimented with a fare free for a while. It's a mixed bag. We're not comfortable with it yet, but at some point in time, our executive director might be. We've had so many discussions on it. But I didn't want to take a lot of your time. I know you're busy. I wanted to get this information out.
Thank you.
And I want you to get
Thank you.
excited about it so that we can start talking about it. We can come back and do more with this. And hopefully it gets out to the press as well. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Certainly. But what sort of questions do you have that I haven't answered?
You know, I think there will be questions as you start the service up and start to recognize when and how it's gonna work. We'd love to have you come back monthly, and we will have a better input, hopefully, just by what people will tell this group possibly, tell the city,
I'll
whatever.
accept your invitation and you'll see me monthly.
Well, I think it's important.
Until you
If
tell me
you're
just
gonna make
stop.
it happen, you have to talk about it, and we have to get it in the newspaper and get people well aware of it, and this is a good spot to start, so.
Right.
And we thank you for your efforts. I think it's a great idea. I think we've all thought that this was something that the county needed, and I'm sorry I didn't turn the page over to see the schedule, or I wouldn't have asked the question. So anyway,
We have flyers being made right now. We will be distributing those across the county to try and get this information out to everybody.
very good.
I do have a question.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Like when they take you to the airport, will you drop you off like Southwest, you know, it's way down, you know, will they drop you off at
Well,
United, American, Southwest at the airport?
the good thing is that we would be able to do that. The driver could simply ask, where are you going?
Right.
Which terminal?
There you go.
And we can take you there.
Okay.
Since we're going there, there's no reason to make it more difficult than that. We really want this to be successful, and there's nothing that says we can't do that, certainly. We try and do door to door when we can and get you as close as possible, when it makes sense and it's safe.
So we're not trying to do something that's gonna be free for only the people who are in a situation where they can't do it, but the general public could do, just say, I wanna ride the Oates
Yes.
bus and go to the airport at such and such times? I mean, that's just, I'm just asking the question, if it's
Yeah, this service,
public use and
because it's federal
$10.
dollars are tied to this particular funding stream, it has to be for general public, anyone and everyone can write it. A nominal charge to get you into St. Louis. And I'm just hoping that we can continue with this funding down the road too. A year and a half from now, when this funding starts to run out, can we continue it? I hate to start something that doesn't have guaranteed funding forever, but nothing ever has guaranteed funding. But I have a pretty good feeling that it's been successful enough in other regions that it will be here too. And that we'll hopefully see this continue into the future, and that maybe this is not the only one we ever do. This may just be the beginning.
And you might give the public examples of who could be the riders and the potential for $10 going down to St. Louis and getting to the airport, and then be able to get picked up, probably for $10 again. That could be very appealing to a lot of people.
I sure hope so. I would love to see these buses full. I would love to tell Megan we've got to get 2 or 3 more drivers and routes going for this. It'd be great. We have the money to do this right now, so let's do it.
Interesting, yes. See, OATS is the synonym for what? Older Adults Transportation System. I guess we
Hey,
would
one in
qualify right
time,
in there.
We would.
That was originally.
Well, we do so much more than now just older adults, but it's always going to be
I
at the heart of what we do though.
I understand.
I look forward to you coming at the next meeting, and hopefully by then we'll digest this and
You bet.
have ongoing questions.
By then, I'll have some real information to
Good.
share.
Good, very good.
And thank you so much.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
ideas.
Good start.
Good start, very good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You consider
Okay.
parking down at the airport, expensive as that is.
Taylor here?
Go ahead, Darren, go ahead.
While Charles is getting getting our presentation up, so we've shared this information with the Washington Chamber of Commerce at a couple of different meetings. As some of you may know, back in the day when the half-cent transportation sales tax was proposed to the voters, the chamber played a crucial role with the city in trying to go ahead and get the word out, and got behind the tax at that time. And we're gonna, thank you, Charles. So we've had 2 meetings with the chamber so far. Our goal is to go ahead and open this discussion. We've talked about this a little bit. I think we've hinted at it with you in the past few months, and this really kind of started also when we had our presentation in front of the MoDOT Commission back in October. And that's when we started talking about future needs. It's not that was the only venue that we've ever discussed this. I mean, obviously, this board meets every month, and our comprehensive plan was completed last year. So all of these items all tie back to that. But what we wanted to do was focus on what have we accomplished with the tax in the past 20 years, and what do we look at doing in the future when this tax sunsets in 2030. So, Charles, if you can. So your current sales tax is as most people know, and I would assume in this room, but we'll go through these. 25-year term, it started in 2005 and it terminates in 2030. Most of you probably realize it was tied to the bonds that the city, when we partnered with MoDOT on a 50-50 cost share, and we've got another slide that's got much more detail about that. But that's the reason why it sunsetted in 2030, because that's when the bonds would go ahead and be paid off. So it was set up to be a 25-year term. So as we said, it was started to fund Highway 100 to widen that to 4 lanes from 44 to High Street. There were 3 phases, 2008 through 2013. And as I said, the bond payments end in 2030. Also, it was also explained to the voters that we would use this to fund local street paving and sidewalk replacement. And it's been a welcome change for us. There's in the past, there was numerous ways that the city had tried to go ahead and do street projects, especially streets that do not qualify for federal funding. And we either did partial payment from property owners based on linear street frontage. which was always popular, as you can imagine. I'm being facetious. As well as the chip and seal, which was what was done later so that we did not have to charge anybody for partial payment. That also funded additional projects, annual grant projects that we have that we go ahead and apply for, our bridge and culvert replacement and construction projects, and then miscellaneous trail projects, such as the Bush Creek water, as well as I think we might have used some for the extension going to the west of the Rotary Riverfront Trail. So in the Highway 100 capacity improvements, again, just as a refresher to everyone, it was expanded to 4 lanes on Highway 100 in 3 phases. We had phase 1 from 47 Street to the east city limits. That was the first phase for 2 miles. If you'll remember, that was about the time Phoenix Center 2 was coming into are just opening up. Phase 2 was the big stretch that actually got us from the east city limits all the way to I-44. And then phase 3 was from High Street to Highway 47, another 1.5 miles, and that was completed in 2013. So obviously, what we had set out to do with the tax and how to finance that was completed within these 3 phases, and that was the lion's share of what the tax was really discussed with to begin with. And as a refresher, that was a city cost share. We did a 50-50 cost share with MoDOT on that. Total project was $52 million, and the city's portion was $26 million in bonds and paid out, as we said, over 25 years with half-cent sales tax. And again, it expires in 2030. These are the 3 phases that we just talked about. You can see the yellow phase was the last phase going to High Street. The red was the first phase, and the blue was the longest phase that everybody uses today, obviously, to get to I-44. Before the tax, as we said earlier, we had chip and seal overlays. It was a sprayed thin layer liquid asphalt, spread rock on top. We funded it with the general revenue fund and any special tax that we had on adjacent property owners. Any overlay done would require additional tax on abutting property owners of that street. Any sidewalk or curb repairs was cost shared with abutting property owners. One other note, sometimes we get asked about our truck route map. Well, our truck route map used to look like a spaghetti factory, so to speak, because all of these streets would get added, because if you were on a truck route, well, then you wouldn't get assessed if the street was improved. And so we had a lot of streets, put it that way, a lot of politics over the years, and that's been taken off of the maps 20 years ago to go ahead when we had this funding source. Again, there's a process of chip and seal. I think what we had heard from some members of the chamber was, show us an idea of what was done prior to that. So this is it. A lot of complaints that the city would receive at the time was just tracking the tar. It took a while to go ahead and cure, and so it was a little bit of a messy operation.
Don't forget to never quit shedding the chips either.
Oh, there you go, yeah. I mean, I could go on, but we only have so many minutes. But you see the before and after photos of what was done. The city started using, the NovaChip process it works very well for us. I mean, you can use a thin layer over the top of an existing one if you need to. There are times when Charles and his team has to go ahead and consider total reconstruction of a street, like 2nd Street that we did downtown, but this certainly helps us and affords us a smoother paving surface, much quicker cure time, and obviously it doesn't track, I think, and the general public has grown accustomed to it. So the proposed sales tax that we started looking at, so a few months back, we started looking at what are we going to need to go ahead and do, for the future needs of transportation. And some of the obvious ones that we're going to get into this morning is the Highway 100 widening to 4 lanes to continue that to Voss Spring Drive. You've got 47, as Jordan's already discussed, what MoDOT's efforts are. And by the way, we've got a meeting with Jordan to see how we can go ahead and incorporate what our long-term needs are with the 47 project, because obviously that's something that is near and dear to our residents as well. The East-West Parkway roadway, the extension from South Point Road to Highway A, we always want to make sure that you always remind us that roadway is in planning stages, and it still is. And it's going to play a key role in the 47. We've expressed those comments to MoDOT of where that intersection would be, and we expect that to be a major intersection on 47. And then the High Street extension south to Highway A. You've got airport improvements at the city, and then you got the local improvements, the local paving and maintenance of streets that we just discussed. You've got sidewalk, ADA improvements that we've done, parking lots that we've used, and any future trail system that we need. The bigger thing that we wanted to discuss with everyone, and so a lot of discussion was made about when do we place this on the ballot? And the question was, so you can say, and we're going to get into why now, or why are we talking about this, or why would the city consider putting this on the ballot in 26 prior to the sunset in 2030? I don't think I have to explain this a lot to you, but this is something that we have to spread out and get educated, I guess, to our citizens. Those improvements that we get when Charles and his staff go ahead and make application through East-West Gateway, those are basically a 4 to 5 year process, because you don't receive the funding overnight. You don't sit there and have a problem and then just go to East-West Gateway and ask them to go ahead and fund it. It is, it can be a 4 year process. And so, as you can see, between 26 and 2030, if we don't have the funding available, or at least know that that's going to be there after 2030, we're going to be a little handcuffed as to what we can go ahead and apply for. So just to give an example, although it wouldn't be hindered with the 2030 sunset, but just the application that Charles and his team just put together for High Street and 100, for example. We know that we've got congestion there. We know that we need to make improvements. We've made a CMAQ application with that, but the city has to come up with 20% of the funding for that. And we know that, and in this case, that's 28, 29? 29 construction. So you can see that any other future projects that you're gonna have, if you wanna get federal assistance, you're gonna need to go ahead and make sure that you have that funding source in place. So that's the reason why we're talking about this now, and the idea of placing it on the 2026 ballot. Go ahead. So ways to extend the funding. The city, as we report to this committee every month, we seek grants and seek funding, ways to extend our funding through various sources, both federal, state, and even at the county level. Airport utilizes grants for all projects. They're typically 90-10 grants. So, for example, the last set of hangars that we built over there, the 8 hangars that we did, that was a 90-10 funding. TAP grants for major trail improvements and extensions, the Bush Creek Trail extensions. We utilize this a lot. If there's a trail, I can't remember the last time the city paid for a fully funded a trail extension. It usually goes through this program. Continue to apply for STP funds. This is the stuff that we would use that we're getting ready for Jefferson Street to work, thankfully, hopefully this week with the weather breaking finally. They'll start moving on that project. But 3rd Street that was just completed from Jefferson Street over to 47, those are those types of grants that we go ahead and utilize. And that does everything from sidewalk replacement, the repaving, new major roadway extension for High Street and East-West Parkway. Those projects we do rely on. We're going to try to go ahead and get federal funding in the future. The East-West Parkway roadway, part of it is letting East-West Gateway Coordinating Council know that is a street, a major street, should be eligible for federal funding. Larger MoDOT projects utilize a 50-50 cost share. As we told you earlier, Charles reported earlier about the intersection that you've got at the Oldenburg Industrial Park, for example. We still utilize those grant funds. As a matter of fact, in that case, it's not a 50-50 cost share. It is 100% covered by MoDOT because it fell into the economic development category with Precoat locating within the park. But we're always looking for ways to leverage other grant opportunities. And then CMAQ is the 80-20 grant that we use for intersection improvements. And that's the one, again, that I mentioned at High Street and 100 that Charles and his team went ahead and put the application. We've successfully been awarded the one at East 5th Street and South Point Road in 100 to go ahead and get dual lefts in there, dedicated right turn lane. Those are the types of improvements, and that's the fund that we do. But without the tax, we don't have the 20% to leverage to go ahead and get those funds. But we look for ways to extend that funding all the time. Again, why now? So we're looking at the 2026 ballot in spring. The tax renew would begin in 2030, and run through 2050. We'll talk about how we got to that 20-year term here in a bit. And then it would pair with the capital improvement sales tax, which is also subject to be on the 2026 ballot. Both of these would be a renewal of our half-cent sales tax. So for each one has that. But it would not, just to make sure it's very clear, the city's not looking to double up between 26 and 2030. That's not the case. It's just on the ballot so that it would be in 2030 to keep extending beyond that. Grant funding process, it takes 4 to 5 years. We talked about that, the typical cycle. And you need to have the funds, source allocated for those construction phase when they do arrive. Because usually by year 4, that's when you need to have the funds. So you can see, here's a map of the eligible roadways that the city has within, that they can go ahead and apply. As you can see, the East-West Parkway roadway is not on there yet. That's what we're looking to go ahead and add that to this map. But those are the roadways that currently are eligible for those grant funds that we talked about earlier. Future major projects, so Highway 100 safety and capacity improvements, we've got 47. You got East-West Parkway roadway, High Street extension, which is also an extension of the East-West Parkway. All of these projects are ones that we would be looking at to go ahead and fund, or what we see the city will need to utilize that tax if we want to see that come to fruition. So as we said, 47 south capacity. I mean, at minimum, I would say that the city, I've had some discussions with some people. It's like, no, you got to look beyond that even. Obviously, MoDOT's already looking beyond that. We want to partner with Jordan and see what's the most efficient way that the city can work with the state and try to go ahead and get those improvements. What do we expect to see? We included this portion of it down to, if you see that graphic on the right, that would be the extension of what we're looking at. And if you look at the graphic on the left, that's where the East-West Parkway would intersect with 47 and become a major intersection. So again, to extend that 4-lane south, 4,000 feet to the future connection of East-West Parkway, as I said earlier, Jordan has already got these in the works as far as 47. I think they're gathering this input to see where the 4 lanes begins, ends, where it needs to. But as you know, currently Highway 47 from 44 in St. Clair, Washington city limits, a MoDOT funded project. And at the meetings that, the first meeting that we had this year, I think you got 76 million for about a 12.7 mile stretch is between Washington down to St. Clair. So we had asked for some design cost or construction costs just to try to get some cost estimates on some of these major projects. And so Charles worked with consulting engineering firm to go ahead and get some costs. This is the level of what we had received so far to date. This is just for the 47. This is for basically the 1 mile stretch of what we're looking at. I was happy to see when Jordan and his team gave their presentation at MoDOT, the numbers were not too far off with regards to price per mile of what we're looking at. But you can see just for that stretch to basically pick it up from Studerman Road, go to that intersection that we had on the previous slide, you're looking at, what is 8.6 million?
0.6.
Yeah, what just for the cost alone for that. Now, if MoDOT is funding and they've got that included in theirs, then we can pull these numbers off of that and not have to go ahead and reconsider. But that's part of the working with Jordan and his team that we're going to be talking about. Highway 100 West safety and capacity improvements. Our goal has always been, I think, previous comprehensive plan, not the one that was just passed last year, but the one even back from 2013, always identified Highway 100 of getting 4 lanes and continuing that from High Street out to Voss Brink Drive, out to our industrial park. Very important for our industries to go ahead and have access to 4 lanes of traffic. It's one of those boxes that we have to check. Aaron has to go ahead when every time he fills out an RFI for a possible industry locating, they want to know how far is it going to, how long does it take to get to a 4-lane road, how many miles, et cetera. So in this case, we want to go ahead and continue that all the way to Voss Brink Drive, not only for our industrial traffic, but we know that we've got, traffic delays that we experience on 100 west of High Street. So to widen that to 4 lanes, continue where it ends, just west of High Street, which is about 1,700 feet, and at Vosbrink, currently widening, as Charles reported earlier, to go into Waterman Drive. That work is going to go ahead. That's already been funded and already under contract. Currently, it's not on the state's. Currently, this stretch of 100, and that's something we want to talk to Jordan about, is getting this on the higher priority list of or an unfunded list. And I think we can do that especially if you start talking about a cost share project and partnering with MoDOT. And again, this is just the graphic that we have of Oldenburg Industrial Park, the improvements that we put into place, but that's where the intersection work will take place. So we did get a cost estimate on this portion of Highway 100 to go from High Street out to Vosbrink Drive. As we said earlier, it's about a 3.25 mile stretch. And you're looking at, in this case, close to $33 million for that stretch of roadway to go ahead and be completed. Then you have future East-West Parkway and High Street extensions. The part that's probably going to be focused on the most, I just want to make sure that, and we will continue to reiterate this when asked during this process, would be basically from Highway A to South Point Road is going to probably be the biggest focus, because as I tell people, people get very excited about that stretch of roadway, or when we show that map going beyond that. But as I always tell them, it's taken 50 years to get to this point to finally pave, because the development has finally caught up to it and required and needed us to go ahead and address it. And you see that stretch, that's that yellow portion that's already been built right there. Thank you, Doug. That's just east of Beaker Road. And that's due to the Stonebridge development, the residential development that's occurring down there. But the portion in blue that you see basically running from Highway A all the way over to South Point Road, that's the portion that you're talking about within the next 20 years. And again, it's not necessarily needed if we, certain phases may be needed more so than others. Like we anticipate Beaker Road to South Point Road is probably going to be the next crucial phase, as opposed to, maybe between Beaker Road to, to Mayor Drive, or all the way over to 47. 47, it could be that we do have the potential for development there along 47. There are 2 developers that have purchased property there. So if they come to the city and want to start moving, we'll start looking at what do we need to put that in place, what we want to be ready for that. Total Parkway, and this is for the portion that Charles just showed you on the map, you're looking at about 2.7. That's our 20%, and that's our 20%. So if we were able to go ahead and like we said, successfully get that included with East-West Gateway coordinating, with the folks that review our federal applications or whatever, that would be our 20% match to go ahead and get those improvements completed. This gives you an idea of some of the development that what we're anticipating would be south of 100 with that development. What you see on that one to the left is that's from Potteries, way up there in the top corner, and that goes all the way over to High Street, and you can see that's what the development is looking like, or the developer would like as that gets developed. So you can see the need for those improvements, at least on that stretch of 100. And again, I would suspect that Highway 100 would be completed in phases, and we would look at it the same way that we did when we put this on the ballot back in 2005. And High Street extension, again, 20% local match. You're looking at a little less than $1,902,000 for that stretch from where it's at today down to Highway A. And that's part of that connection to getting traffic to go east to west throughout the city. Airport improvements. Again, as we mentioned earlier, it's a 10% local match for us. You have the runway and the taxiway construction at $2.8 million, a new fuel management system. You've got some airfield and pavement maintenance that we're going to have to go ahead and do. We're gonna eventually, at some point, gonna have to go ahead and reconstruct the taxiway. It's beginning the end of its shelf life. That's a big price tag that you see there of 6.2. Land acquisition and new terminal and hangars. There may be some funds that we've put in there. Reconstruct the roadway, or the runway, I guess that's the bigger one, I should say. That's the 8.6. And so you're just looking at general repairs and maintenance for 20 years. Again, we're not asking to fund that fully. We know that we're not gonna have to go ahead and do that, but at least the 10% of it we're looking at over that time frame is 2.2, and a yearly cost of $114,000. Local improvement projects, you've got your asphalt street paving. You have 80 miles of asphalt city streets, and if we pave all streets at least once within 20 years, also, you're looking at the concrete streets, panel replacement. You got 14 miles of concrete streets within the city. Parking lots, overlay and sealing, downtown parks. These are all fun facts that we expect all of you to memorize and be able to go ahead and give back to the general public. So, sidewalks, replace remaining sidewalks that are not ADA compliant. We continue to go ahead and have a sidewalk replacement project. For those of you old enough in the room, you remember at one time the city used to have a 50-50 cost share with that to go ahead and replace hazardous sidewalks, and then it moved to 2/3, 1/3, where the homeowner was responsible for 1/3. Thanks to the transportation sales tax that passed in 2005, we have not had to go ahead and ask for anything from either our residents and even in our business areas to replace those sidewalks. That includes curb ramps, and that follows our ADA transition plan that the city is required to go ahead and have in place. Also, it would help us with the, to go ahead and provide the necessary funding, the 20% typically for the trails, Bush Creek Extension, riverfront improvements and overlay, and any other miscellaneous park trails that come along that could qualify for such funds. All of those, Charles and his staff put together a list of all of these projects. And again, some of these are the ones that would just be 20% that you're seeing. And we're looking at probably with, based on projected revenue, you're looking at about 3.7 over that 2030 to 2050 timeframe. So is that, oh, this is all of the projects.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
that's all the
Thank you,
projects, 3.8, if you averaged them over 20 years, and then at the bottom there, you can see the projected revenue. It's just about, just right
Yes.
under that 3.8.
So that's
pretty
the
close.
thing. So you got a yearly cost of about 3.8 million, and then if you look at what the revenue would bring in. Now, you're currently bringing in about 2.8 million on the half-cent transportation sales tax. But again, as you see those numbers below, we increased those by 2%. All the way up to 2050, and that's kind of what we're looking at by 2050 if revenues continue to increase by 2%. That's being a little conservative. We've had some years during COVID where that percentage was a lot higher, and then you've had other years where it's maybe just a little bit lower than 2%. But we feel 2% is a pretty good conservative estimate on what we would expect the tax to go ahead and generate. So you can see we're pretty close. That's how we came to the 20-year time frame of the term of what to ask for the voters. Because the big question, last time when this went before the voters, it was a new tax. We knew that it was gonna take 25 years to pay the bonds off. Therefore, that's why we put the sunset in. And I think our voters have gotten used to the city asking them only for a tax for the term of when they need to make the improvements, what improvements are gonna be done, and then go ahead and then deliver on that. We feel that we've delivered on everything that was asked of back in 2005 when the tax was put in place. I'm not aware of a project that we did not include, that was eligible for those transportation sales tax funds. Obviously, the 100 improvements were done early because that's what we wanted to go ahead and get accomplished. But that's how we came up with a 20-year term for that. Could this change a little bit? Yes. If we're talking with 47, with those improvements, it just depends on what our role is going to be on Highway 47 improvements. Another one that's not in here that I've had some discussions with some people is the intersections east of Washington that MoDOT is looking at from a safety perspective. As we all know, they had a public meeting here, I think that's already been a year and a half ago or so, that we had right here in this room, where they had some proposals or some ideas that were exchanged as to how to make St. John's, Jones Lane, V&T, all of those intersections, all the way up to 44, how do you make those safer? And I think, you know, a focus should be, the closer it is to our city limits, the more our focus should be. Obviously, I think we're all concerned, and we've discussed this ad nauseum in this room about St. John's, and what do we do about that intersection? So maybe that's something that we also take a look at and see could we expedite that a little bit faster and see what we could do maybe just for that intersection? Is that something that we could also include within the list of improvements? So that's the last slide, right? So this is what, and again, our goal is to see if we could get this on the 2026 ballot for renewal. We feel the capital improvement sales tax will also expire and be up at that time. We expect that there's already a list of projects, as most of you know, that have attended any of the Parks Master Plan meetings, as well as your emergency response. All of those dollars in the future would come out of the capital improvement sales tax, and I anticipate that they will have a list of projects, and asking the council to go ahead and put that on the ballot in April of 2026. So the real question is, do you add this to it and have both of them be renewed at the same time? We feel that now's the time to go ahead and do that. So, questions, comments? That was a lot of information to go over in 15 to 20 minutes. See, I told you, Bill, we would cover everything,
Got it.
the entire gamut of transportation funding and projects in Washington.
I, for one, definitely support it, and I think the 2026 is critical, that we have that money, and we know it's going to be there, so we can start negotiating it. In order to get these partnerships and grants in here, they don't just happen overnight. In fact, some of them were created basically for us because it made sense. It was a good place to go with the money. And I think that's going to be a story we're going to have to tell, because if it doesn't make money, we're going to be cutting out stuff like that. So I support it. And then if this is public, I would love to have an email to have that, just so I can
Well,
kind
it
of...
becomes public now, because Christopher's here, he's going to go ahead and run a story in it, and so there you go.
It's officially public.
So if we could get an email on that, I mean,
Absolutely.
this is
We will
great for me, because I was writing like mad, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
I got to
You
stop
don't need
writing
to
and
do
start
that.
listening.
Yeah.
So,
We will share all of this information, we will get this to you, but we will refine this a little bit. Like I said, we want to have more discussions with Jordan. We'll refine this a little bit. Like I said, let's see where we're at with our partnership on 47. Let's see where we're at on our partnership with making those intersections a little bit safer east of town. Some of those ideas, like I said, and that may change a little bit of these numbers, but we're more than happy. We feel it's better now to get this message out.
Yeah.
The mayor has asked Sandy Lucy to kind of head this up with some other folks with transportation to say, hey, how can we go ahead and get this message out? And I think that's going to be our biggest battle, is trying to educate the general public. I think it's hard enough to explain to maybe general voting public of what you get done in 8 years on a capital improvement sales tax, but when you start talking about a tax that's already been in place for 20 years, people just forget that it's there. And
well, I
they
love the
don't-
highlight of what we got the last 25 years. I mean,
Yeah.
people will remember that, and people who weren't even here when we did all those improvements, they're here because of it, and they're going to say,
Absolutely. Yeah,
wow, we
people-
didn't have 4 lanes to Washington before. I can't imagine living here and working where I work. So I think it's good. I think it's put together well, and I'd love to have a copy of it just so I could reference it whenever I hear the stuff that I need to really let them know that that's not quite what happened. I think this does a good job of summarizing it.
Charles and his team did a great job of putting these numbers together. It was no easy feat. We had some help with Cochrane to help us with 147 improvements, but like I said, it was encouraging. At the first meeting, I was on my calculator trying to figure out, I was like, hey, Jordan's pretty close to what we had for the other one, but I mean, it's obviously there's a bigger stretch. They're talking about 12.7, and we're just looking at, 1 mile for 47, but it was good to see that we weren't too far off on our numbers.
One question, we get the sales tax collections year to date, or to date, from 2005, and from inception in 2005 to the current, we're at a little over 35.5 million. Okay, now where does the total, what's the total that you expect? And are the bonds paid off with MoDOT? Is that
Not yet.
Get paid
Not
off
yet.
in
They're
30.
not. So
What,
there's still an
the bonds are
outstanding.
still paid off, like I said, like we said in the presentation. They're still subject to be paid off by 2030.
So there's still outstanding balances.
Yes, yes.
So that was my comment.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There
It's
is.
about $1 million a year.
Yeah. And what does that amount to a year?
It's about $1 million a year, Darren.
Yeah, it's like 20, so you have about 26 million is what we're looking at. So if you take that 35, you know, you can sit there and look at the, if we've collected 35 to date, you still got, like you said, about $1 million a year, so you're probably taking off, if you had 20 million of that 35 million go towards 100 widening, and the rest of it has gone to other transportation-related projects, city streets, other applications that we've done for federal assistance, all of that.
Okay. So after the MoDOT is paid off in 5 years, then we really get the big benefits out of the
Well,
tax.
if we renew it, you know.
Well, you
it'll
have to
end.
renew it.
If
If
we
you
renew
don't,
it,
I mean,
I'm
at
just
that
saying-
time, it
I'm
sunsets.
just saying, that's where it's,
Yeah.
that's where it really comes
That-
home.
That's right.
Basically,
Right.
we get it all to use locally and not give half to MoDOT for that. for what
But-
their
Right,
portion.
but unless it's able to go ahead and get renewed, you're not gonna have anything.
That's exactly
And that's
the
gonna
point.
get back to,
And
you're
that's
not
the
gonna have
point.
anything for, that's what we're trying to explain. You've got a list of these projects that you wanna go ahead and do, and if you want those funds to be in place so that you can leverage those federal grants, that we feel we've done an incredible job of leveraging those whenever they're available to stretch our tax dollars as far as we can.
And the question is, what would Washington be without this, having had this half-cent
Well, that's
tax
a good
in
question to
effect?
have,
Good.
because I think there's been a comment
Bingo.
that was made recently that 2025 might have been the year that Highway 100 would have been widened to 4 lanes. And so
The original plan.
I don't know what people would think if we would have waited. I mean, and we talked about this, you know, that is part of, you know, do you, you know, some communities just say, no, hey, the Highway 100 is not our project, that's not ours, that's the state's job, that's their job to go ahead and get it. I don't know what Washington would be like if we
Can't
hadn't
imagine.
done it. I can't imagine it. I don't think anybody in this room can imagine, you know, how stagnant we might have been, at least as far as growth goes, to having relied completely on MoDOT to go ahead and make those improvements.
And in fact, most of the monies that were collected didn't necessarily go to MoDOT. Only about half of it is what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying. The other half stayed in town,
That's right.
and we got Highway 100, so
Yes.
it's kind of,
So,
As our sales, as, you know, as our community grew, our sales tax grew,
exactly.
and then allowed us to improve other streets and projects here as a
So we
result of
wouldn't have had
that.
the money to do the projects that we've done if we hadn't passed the 2%, even though MoDOT got half of it, and even though they gave us a 4-lane highway. In addition to that, we got a lot of stuff for the city of Washington out of that.
I hear a lot of people who move here say your streets are so good. And, you know, we take that for granted now, but I was in St. Louis this week on Laclede Station Road.
Oh, my
God,
gosh.
the streets are horrible.
We've had the availability of money to do projects and to match them with MoDOT. That's such a key.
And we work well with other communities. I mean, we work well with MoDOT. We have a track record with them. You know, Darren did a great presentation when the commissioners were here, and, you know, MoDOT appreciates our input, I'm sure, and I think they appreciate our willingness to, we recognize how important transportation is.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah, and I think you guys put it to a great point, that Missouri has the 7th largest state system in the country. So if you think about it, you know, being 7th and being as low funded as we are, and of course July 1st will be the last 2.5 cent tax increase on the fuel tax, and that took 20 to 30 years, I can't remember the exact number, to even get that. And so when you're looking at being 40-something funded within the country and the 7th largest system, we've got to stretch our resources as best we can. So me coming into this position and right off the bat, when I was announced and everything, Darren wanted to meet, and I appreciate that, and setting up that partnership that I hope to be in this position for a very long time and accomplish quite a bit. And so yes, that partnership is going to go a very long way. And I think you guys put it to a great point, that no matter whose system it is, even though it might be a MoDOT system that, of course, is heavily traveled, that we have to use our resources as best we can and list our high priority unfunded needs. If the city sees that as also a need, how do we align those needs and how do we get it completed on a good timeline that best fits the community? Of course, you know, we've got a system maintained just like you all. So at that point, you know, doing these improvements, how do we collect those funds as best we can? And sometimes it takes the municipality to reach into different funding avenues that I can't reach into unless I partner with the municipality. So anytime anybody wants to utilize that, I'm always here to partner and be on board. And so I think that Darren and Charles and the team, they're doing a wonderful job, and I'm happy to work with them.
Thank you.
You guys, I think we can't forget that if we educate our citizens properly, they'll step up to the plate again because they realize that how important our roads are. Bill, you mentioned it's almost unimaginable to me what we would look like if we were still 2 lanes out to I-44. But to spend $26 million on roads that are outside our city limits, if I was a citizen uneducated, I said, why? Well, they proved that they know if we educate them properly, like happened when we ran the half-cent transportation sales tax the first time, they'll step up to the plate and see the value of that. And I've got to believe that if we do the same, if we do our job educating our citizens, that they'll step up to the plate again. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a lot of hard work and time to do that, but we're starting right now.
I will finish with, we have the capital improvement sales tax, there's a committee that meets to review those projects, and they typically start, and the timing now is, here we are in February of '25, and say, well, why are you talking about an election that's gonna be in 2026? Well, that committee starts to meet, or starts to convene this summer. And then we've talked about, we think the best approach would probably be to get people on that committee that can not only talk about capital improvement sales tax projects, but also this transportation, and know that, and have a combined committee that sees the relevance of both of those. So that's why we're talking about it. We wanted to get it in front of this committee as soon as we can. We would have done it we had this ready to go last month, but we wanted to make sure that we had shown this to our partners at the chamber first and said, hey, how can we, here's what we're envisioning, give us your thought, give us your input. And so we've done that now. We've had 2 meetings with them. And so the next steps will be this summer, talking about this, getting this out to that committee, picking those members on the committee. The mayor's been working on that, and then providing that input to the council this fall, and obviously hopefully get their support to go ahead and put this on the ballot to renew in April of 2026. It takes that amount of time to go ahead and do it. Obviously, a lot of the campaigning on all of that will take place this time next year. We'll be in full mode if that's how we move forward with this. So,
The campaign for the passage of the first was SOS, Safety Opportunity Sooner.
there you go.
Very, very well.
There you go.
Flyer.
That's right.
That.
Thank you, Bill, for
Safety.
remembering
And I think
that.
It's great.
I think it passed, if I remember, Sandy, I know you asked
54%.
54% it passed, and that was a new tax at that time, saying this is what we would go ahead and do. Now, our capital improvement sales tax in 2018, that passed by over 70%, but we had a lot of projects that the community got behind. I anticipate we'll have that same, I hope to have that type of approval percentage, but, you know, obviously, all we need is over 50%. Thank you.
You betcha. Thanks.
Folks,
Great
if
job.
you
Great
have
job.
any questions or don't agree with the strategy, please let me know.
All right, we're at the end of the line here, I guess, huh? If I'm letting the minutes here. Looks like we are. No other business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you for all for coming. Turnout, glad to see the crowd.
Thanks. Yeah, good crowd.
Hey, Bill, did you say safety opportunities sooner?
SOS, yes.
Is that what it was, though? Safety opportunities sooner?
Jim.
Okay.
That's great.